Hey guys, welcome to Becky's Garden Paradise. I just wanted to take a minute to show you around and show you the new things that I have going on in my garden. So behind me you can see one addition. Oops, where are we at? Gotta make sure, there we go. Which is a hawk decoy that Mr. B got me because my squash started fruiting. I picked the first couple squash and then the others disappeared, so squirrels likely came in and ate the baby squash off of my plant. So he went and got this, and since then my squash have been left to grow. So you can also see the trellis behind me. My brother and his family were in town last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and while my brother was here he put the trellis that you see in the background together for me. So I like how it looks from this point, or from in the garden, but when I'm standing outside looking at it, I don't know if that's where I want to keep it or not. I may or may not leave it there, but I do plan to grow some vining plants up it, probably green beans, asparagus beans, something like that. And then I also put in a second row of garden fence or trellis that you see in the background. So I'm going to take you around and show you what I have growing on that, how everything's doing, and some new plants that I have. So this is one of my cherry tomatoes, the only one that I planted in a pot or in a bucket that didn't die. So I guess they had transplant shock or got dried out, something, I don't know. I planted them all at the same time, did the same exact thing, watering and everything. This is the one that survived, and it is thriving. It has flowers on it, so I expect to have some cherry tomatoes in the near future. I do have these pots that are empty on the sides, and I have a couple more pepper plants that I need to transplant, as well as some tomatoes that I may put in there. Down here are my volunteer tomatillos. 2 of the 3. I originally had 5 volunteers, and 2 of them got taken out by yard work, garden maintenance, one by me and one by someone I hired to do my yard. Accidentally, it happens. Obviously I did one, so can't blame anyone or get mad at anyone, but it's really branched out, bushed out, and really grown out of the pot. So it's bushed out on the ground, which is what my plants did last year. So they just grow low and bushy. They don't grow like tall like tomato plants. That's the other tomatillo. If you look close, you see all those yellow blossoms all over it. I haven't got any tomatillos yet, but last year, from my experience, it took them a while before they actually started fruiting. So they put on a lot of flowers early in the season, but it's usually later in the summer when I actually get tomatillos. These are a couple bell pepper plants that have nice, thick, healthy looking stalks and flowers on them. That's another bell pepper plant. It's like a little runt. It's just taking a little bit longer to take off. It was planted at the same time and from the same cell pack as these 2 bigger ones right here. Again, here's my hawk decoy. Thinking I need to name it. So if you guys have any suggestions for a name for my hawk decoy, let me know in the comments. I do like how it's on the PVC and blows in the wind, so to the squirrels looks like it's moving. And I replanted this tiered planter from the Dollar Tree. I originally got some strawberry bare root plants and tried to grow them in this, and they never sprouted. I have bad luck with strawberry bare root plants. I've grown some from transplants before, but anyways, I replanted them with some, I can't remember the type, but they're a bush green bean, so good for containers. This is one of my cubanelle peppers and is doing well. It has some pretty good size peppers on it. I'll show you, like compared to my hand, if I can get it. So it's longer than my hand. And I have a couple other big ones, good sized ones in there with it. all ready to pick. I'm just leaving them till I figure out what I want to do with them. If I want to make some sweet pepper relish or what. Thought about making some sweet and spicy pepper relish and using my hot and sweet peppers. This is my rattlesnake green bean row. So they've thinned out. I've been removing the diseased leaves, so that's why there's some bare places, but I have also went back and succession sown some seeds in the empty spaces to fill in the gaps and also to help continue the production so that once these fizzle out, I'll have new plants growing up to replace them. This plant right here on the end took a while to take off. It was planted the same time as all the others, but it's just recently reached the top of the fence, and it has the pretty purple flowers on it, so it'll start fruiting soon. I've been eating fresh green beans out of the garden a couple times a week for the last few weeks. This is the third tomatillo. Remember that all the marigolds are volunteers that I transplanted from a patch in my yard where a couple old plants got tilled in and then their seeds sprouted. Here this is my row of squash. So you can see there are plenty of squash in there. I think they're like, some of them don't look like they got pollinated. If they shrivel up, that means they didn't get pollinated. So there are a couple in there that are shriveling, so they didn't get pollinated very good. But there's a good sized one in there that is big enough to eat. These first three are all three yellow summer squash that came from the same pack, but I noticed the difference in the leaves. So this one's grown bigger. You see what the leaves look like on it. The leaves on this look almost more like a zucchini leaf. These are also yellow summer squash, but look at the difference in the leaves. So even though they came from the same cell pack, they're probably a cross or a different type of variety that got mixed in. I don't know. They're in the same cell pack I got from the local nursery. Oh well, either way, they're all gonna get eaten. This one also has a good sized squash on it, big enough to pick. I still have some squash in the house that I need to cook before I pick that one. Yellow squash. And then these three are zucchini. The zucchini have grown bigger than the yellow squash, but they have been slower to produce. So you can see female blossom gonna open up. Another female blossom in the background is a female because it has a little baby zucchini on it. And then I have a row of tomatoes, different varieties, because I started different varieties and I plugged them in. Like some, didn't make it when they got transplanted, so then I filled in the gaps with others. But I know that the first few plants here are homestead tomato plants, which were developed in the 1950s by the University of Florida. So they are specifically developed to thrive in our hot, humid Florida climate. So you can see little baby tomato in there, lots of blossoms. I have another baby tomato right there and more blossoms. This one may or may not be a homestead. This one over here, I'm pretty sure that this is also a homestead tomato, and it has baby tomato on it. This is another, I believe to be homestead tomato, and it has, you see down there, some tomatoes on it, baby tomato up there. I've done Florida weave to string them up, and they're due for me to come through and weave them again. This, I believe, is a cherry tomato plant. I'm not 100% sure, but or it could be a Cherokee purple. Like I said, they got mixed up. It's all right. I'll figure it out once they ripen. This is my sole surviving Abe Linciln tomato plant. So, being a history geek, I had to grow it just because it's an Abe Linciln tomato. Some more pretty marigolds. The crate is what I use for my garden seed. I sit out here sometimes and just take it all in, drink coffee, talk to you guys. More pretty volunteer marigolds that I transplanted. This is a closer look at the trellis. So I still have to work on this area over here. But anyway, it's more tomatoes. I think some of these are cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna walk around so I can show you a little bit closer. I have to try to make sure I'm dodging landmines left by my dog. Those are marigolds in the original places where they germinated. There are a few of them. So these are the other tomatoes, and this is the trellis that I just put up last weekend. My brother helped me cut it, but I put it up all by myself like a pro with the help of some zip ties. I actually found some multicolor zip ties. So, like that. This over here, I have this little puny cucumber that has struggled ever since it germinated, but it's been hanging on, and I have confidence that it's going to take off at some point, as well as sweet potato. So whenever Mr. B was tilling, we missed a couple chunks, and that has germinated, so I'm just letting it go to see if I dig up sweet potatoes this fall. So you can see how pretty the leaves are. Sweet potatoes are in the morning glory family, and you can actually eat the leaves. A lot of people in Africa and Asia eat sweet potato leaves. I've cooked them. They're very good. I sauteed them with onions and mushrooms before. I've also had them in like a egg frittata, and they're real good. They remind me kind of like a kale. This is the main cucumber that germinated from seed that I planted. It's the one that grew in a hole that my dog dug after I germinated the seeds, and it is slowly taking off. It's climbing up the trellis. It was ready for it when I put it in, and I'm trying to see if I can find any for you, because I've started, noticing some female flowers. So you see that one right there has a baby cucumber on it. There are a few of them on there, so it looks like I'm gonna start getting cucumbers. Based on the way it looks, I'm thinking that it's either like a market more or straight aid or pickling, one of the green cucumbers that I planted. And here we have another tomato plant. I think this is also possibly a cherry tomato plant. We'll see once it gets bigger. And then I have an extra zucchini that I needed to stick in somewhere, so I planted it right there. It has yet to fruit, but it has female flowers on it also. And then these sad little plants are some transplants that I just put in today. So Mr. B's dad, who is a real deal local farmer, pulled these, basically just thinned out some of his okra plants, because I told him I hadn't planted any okra yet, and he'd already done this at his farm. So he pulled up some of his okra plants. I think I got like 11, and he told me, to poke a hole and how deep to bury them and to keep them watered. He said that they're gonna bend over and look sad like that, but as long as I keep them watered, that they'll eventually grow, and not to be surprised if those okra leaves die, that as long as the stalk stays green, that they'll grow back. So I'm excited to have these. These are all Clemson Spineless. Like I said, I just poked holes. I used a bamboo cane and a PVC pipe to poke the holes deep enough, or dig the holes deep enough to stick these in, and then backfilled them and watered them in. So you guys will be able to see the progress of these once they bounce back, Lord willing. I just stuck them in before I started this video, and then I still got to work on this area and get it covered up. I had came over and retilled, not tilled deep enough, but I am gonna get the ground cover laid over here and something else planted there. I finally got a butane torch, so that I can burn the edges of the fabric and burn the holes in the fabric to plant right in it, to cut down on weeding. But Let me know if you have any questions or ideas. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that you find joy in the garden.